But one night last week, I got an unsolicited email from somebody I had never met. Mm-hmm. It was one of the teachers and or advocates for the robotics program at Franklin High School in Franklin, Virginia. Not Franklin County, but Franklin High School, City of Franklin, Southampton County. And this person sends me about a long 2-3 page email about the fact that your legislation that would have helped their program got tabled, effectively killed, in House appropriations. And this person went on to write to me about this, that, and the other. And they said, one of the legislators that voted to kill your bill was Emily Brewer. They also attached to this email a picture that last year at the Southampton County Fair, Emily Brewer took a picture with 5 or 6 of these kids in this robotics program. And according to this teacher that wrote me this email, told all the students, I look forward to supporting you and I'm going to help you in every way that I can.
Wow.
To do all these things, told the teacher and these kids at this photo op. And then when it came time to help, she chose to go along with, I guess, higher forces or more pressure or
her
whatever.
boss.
Her boss.
Let's just be honest about it. You serve at the pleasure of the chairman.
Yeah.
So, of course, she's going to do what he wants to do. She's not going to think about the children. She's thinking about her position. I mean, how bold would it have been for her to say, no, we should have this bill? It would have been consistent with what she told those kids in Franklin. But there's no consistency in that. It's hypocritical, in my opinion. I mean, okay, if you don't like me, fine. You know, take money for a bridge out of my district. But don't hurt children.
Yeah.
And don't tell children one thing and say another. I mean, Glenn Davis, it seemed to me like a setup too, because Glenn was a big champion of robotics, that the chairman looks down and says, chair recognizes Delegate Davis. And you could have seen the blood rush out of Glenn Davis's face. He looks at me, looks down, and starts reading off a piece of paper. And he says, Mr. Chairman, this is a very fine bill, and I know I promised those students it would pass. So I regretfully have to make this motion based on the fact that he says there's no House cognate, which has never been a requirement. House cognate means it's the identical bill on the House side that's traveled over, and it's not in the budget. And I was like, it is in the budget. And so he made a motion to table, and he looked like he was trying to swallow a cinder block in one bite. And I don't fault him. I talked to him afterwards.
Yeah.
I talked to another delegate who I knew very closely on that committee. And when he came to my office, I said, let me tell you why that great bill got killed. 2 words, skill and games. And that delegate looked at me and said, you're right about that. You're exactly right. How petty is that? That shows the underbelly and the real pettiness of politics.
Do you think?
But to think that she would say one thing to children and do another because her boss told her so, rather than standing on principle and what's right for kids, it's either typical or it's disturbing.
In her case, is it all about what Barry Knight said, or does she have a little bit of disdain for you because of mine and your personal relationship?
I can only speculate, but I'm sure it made it easier. Probably made it easier for her.
But obviously, the longer I go down this path, as far as campaigning and getting my name out there and talking about running for Senate, I'm starting to get more and more things like this. So when a teacher of high school kids in Franklin, Virginia, Southampton County, city of Franklin, email you and say, this is what we were told, and this is what happened. So I'm going down there next week to meet with the group, find out more about it. And
those kids that engage in robotics are fascinating, smart, driven, respectful, and are the future backbone of the economy of the Commonwealth of Virginia, if we can keep them in Virginia. But, especially when Republicans have been saying, and I've said it, school and the public school should teach kids how to think, not what to think. But we also have to be innovative. We can't just do the 3 R's and be done with it. This is a different crowd that is used to the tablets and the phones and the devices and the internet more than we are. Their parents are. So this seems like a no-brainer. And I'm not bitter about it. I understand politics. I get it. Okay. I get why they did it. I do. But it's not going to change what I do in the future.
Right.
And I don't regret what I did in fighting for my client. And if you think it's okay to harm children, basically, deprive them of
opportunity
that the affluent public schools that most of these leisure legislators live in, the Northern Virginia, the Hampton Roads, the eastern part of Virginia and Norfolk and Virginia Beach, they take for granted. But say in a public school in Petersburg, a middle school or a high school, it's a crumbling school, gets this kind of technology through a grant and teaches kids the opportunities of what's out there if they really love robotics and what they can do with their lives or break the cycle of poverty. I mean, that's transformative, transformational. And because of petty politics, it sits on the shelf. And the money is still in the budget, by the way. So it goes unspent. $200,000.
They could be doing a lot of good for high school kids and programs following their dreams in certain areas of the state that really need to provide kids with these types of opportunities.
Yeah.
So
disappointing, but I'm disappointed in them. The funny thing is, you want to hear, these are how talented these children are. And they came from Henrico and Richmond and the surrounding areas and Maggie Walker School, the governor's school. They found out because they were not at the appropriations hearing when this was done, but they were monitoring everything. The next morning, they show up at my office, 7 deep of students, wanting to know what happened, but also in their hands, they were going to visit every legislator, including Delegate Brewer, every legislator, and ask them why they would do this.
Right.
To ask them to reconsider.
Fair question.
That's how motivated these kids are. That's how adult mature they are. And robotics has a big thing to do with that.
Yep.
And their willingness to fight. I mean, it was heartwarming to see that because I was trying to look them in the eye and, and I told them it could have been me. This is, something that could have been caused by what I do as a lawyer. They totally understood it.
Yeah.
But they weren't going to stop fighting for the children that don't have robotics programs and clubs in their schools. I mean, I fought to make sure through the Virginia High School League years ago, put a bill in, then pressured them to make sure that they acknowledged that robotics was a letterman sport. Because, when we played baseball and sports, what a big chance of us going pro in baseball or football. But every single one of them can go pro. That's the awesome part of robotics. So I'm not going to give up the fight. I've asked the governor maybe to hand down an amendment for appropriating that money. Maybe it comes out of the budget we see. Who knows? But we're not going to give up on it. We'll be back next year.